Well, folks, here again for the weekly forecast. Before we get to the main forecast, taking a look at this last week, we did see scattered convection on almost a daily basis across the state, with the most concentrated areas of significant moisture located in pockets of southwest, south central, and southeastern Nebraska. We actually had totals unofficially reported up to 4 inches in extreme south central Nebraska due to some thunderstorm activity. But farther north, most of the thunderstorms that developed were very spotty in nature and did not contain much in the way of significant moisture. Therefore, we've seen continued deterioration in some of those abnormally dry areas we depicted last week, and we've introduced moderate drought conditions to portions of northeast Nebraska, including the northeastern sandhills. If this dryness issue continues throughout the weekend into early next week, the next drought monitor will likely reflect some of those drying conditions in portions of the western sandhills and southwest Nebraska that would be next up for upgrades to moderate drought conditions. So, do we have chances for rain in the forecast? Let's take a look at the upper air model. The thing I'll draw your attention to is, once again, we have high pressure in place in the upper atmosphere over the central Rockies, northwest flow that clips Nebraska at the surface. We have surface flow basically down in the southeastern Colorado and up into the eastern Montana, western Dakotas. And precipitation with those systems is expected to generate some scattered showers across western Nebraska, but nothing significant. And as we go into tomorrow, the high pressure system starts to expand a little bit more toward the east. Although we do show surface lows developing, the atmosphere is likely going to be highly capped in our region, and therefore very weak chances of scattered precipitation, primarily to the east and south of us. And then as we get into Monday, the high pressure system begins to expand to the east, and we are going to see the heat build rapidly in the central plains. Low pressure once again at the surface showing up, but again the atmosphere is going to be very capped, and most of the thunderstorm activity will lie across areas to the east of us, and we start to see the tropical moisture feeding up into the central Rockies. Tuesday, the high pressure expands even farther toward the east of us. Still surface lows in the area. Again, the atmosphere will be very capped with the very warm temperatures expected across the central plains. And in terms of precipitation, we get the monsoon flow in the central Rockies and the cold front moving through the Great Lakes region. Then as we get into Wednesday, that high pressure system kind of slides a little bit to the east, and that may allow a little bit more monsoon moisture to get into our region, as once again we still see a thermal low at the surface in northwestern Kansas, and then we start to see some of that moisture feeding around that low into the western portion of the state, giving us at least some isolated thunderstorm activity. And as Thursday, we start to see the ridge flattening out and trying to build back toward the west. Surface lows still in place. Some of that monsoon moisture probably is going to ride around these surface lows and makes it actually move into portions of northern Nebraska and southern Minnesota. And then as we go into Friday, high pressure expands rapidly toward the west and covers a large portion of the United States. We still have a surface low in place over western Kansas, and that will still allow some moisture from the monsoon flow to feed up into portions of western Nebraska, but primarily the remainder of the state remains dry. 8 to 14 day period indicates from next Thursday following Tuesday, very warm conditions still remain in place. And in terms of precipitation, we're looking at below normal precipitation. One quick word on the cattle stress index. We are showing high values beginning on Monday, maximizing as we get in the Wednesday, Thursday time period, and then starting to decrease as we go into next weekend.